Computer. Good morning and welcome to the Riser Virtual Cheese Awards. I'm Danielle Tingey. I'm going to be moderating this session and we're starting with the traditional extra mature cheeses today, and I'm joined by our two judges, Nicola and Terry.
Hi, I am Nicola. I'm a full-time grader for Or Newer Foods. I've been in the industry now for about 7 years, and I'm always at events, awards, judging, everything cheese.
And
Hi,
Terry?
I am Terry Hudson. I've been in the dairy industry for around 50 years. During that time, I've got to know most of the cheesemakers in the UK, and I've travelled extensively around the world, so I know lots of cheesemakers in different countries. So I was very fortunate with that. I'm now retired and I spend quite a bit of time in Spain. But I've come back specifically for these wonderful awards.
Thank you, Terry. Okay, so the traditional extra mature cheddar is the category that we're judging now. We're going to be using a points-based system against 4 attributes, being appearance, aroma, texture, and flavour. Worth remembering that the winner of this round is going to go through to the best of category stage finals. They take place in a couple of weeks' time, Tuesday, the 10th of June, sorry. Okay, so let's get going. The first cheese in this category is number 1078.
So we've got quite a nice, rich straw colour going on there. Very nice traditional rind going on as well. You can see where the cloth has been on that one. So exactly true to type. I have, however, got a hole. I don't know if you can see it just in that corner. I've got a hole going on. But other than that, looks exactly as you would expect for the type, really uniform colour. A few cracks, but again, to be expected.
What about you, Terry? What do you think?
Yeah, lovely golden colour, creamy yellow colour, nice and uniform. No mottling or defects to be seen. Slightly mechanical openness, which again is typical of the pressing techniques used for traditional cheese. It's got a nice rind on it with you can see where the cloth has been. It's cloth bound cheese, matured on a shelf, most probably made with unpasteurized milk. But just guessing that. But yeah, looks nice.
I'm getting quite a sweetness on the nose, but again, the sort of must and earthy notes are coming through there as well, particularly more towards the rinds.
Yeah. What's next? Texture, is it?
What do you think about the aroma, Terry?
Well, the aroma, yeah. Again, it's got those nice musty notes from the rind, particularly the rind. Little bit of earthy notes, not too pronounced. I probably was expecting a bit more on the aroma for mature.
Texture, slight breaking up as I was cutting it there. But again, that is to be expected for this type of cheese.
Yeah, lovely, smooth, creamy texture. Again, traditionally made cheeses tend not to get too brittle. They retain the nice creamy texture. Very buttery.
And what about the flavour?
I'm getting a real sweetness, but it's carried by a lot of other sort of complex, savoury, slightly meaty flavours. Good complexity there. Quite a lot going on. But I'm also getting a slight sharpness as well. So again, you're getting this sort of tingling going on.
Yeah, nice complex flavours, lots of different notes. It does linger in the mouth, which is good. It doesn't hit you and disappear. I'd like a little bit more flavour, to be honest, if in an extra mature. But again, no defects, no faults, no off flavours, nothing wrong with it at all.
Very good.
Yeah, I quite like the length. Like I say, just for me, I want a little bit more oomph to it, a bit more character. Like I say, just sort of showing that it is a bit more of an extra mature.
Okay.
Yeah, but a well-made cheese, all round.
Are you happy to score?
For appearance, I would say 8.5. I can't see anything wrong with it. It's got the slight darkening on the edge. There's no mold ingress.
Did you have any holes in yours?
I was going to say I'd go for an 8 just because my hole.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, mine's fine. So we'll go for an 8 then, based on what Nicola's got there.
Okay. And what about the aroma?
Aroma, I was expecting a little bit more aroma, a bit more character. But again, nothing at all wrong with it. It's just lacking a little bit of that sort of hit when you give it a sniff. But I'd still go for an 8.
Yeah. I'm sort of 7.5 to 8. For me, it's slightly more subtle than I would like. But there is still a smell there, and again, there's nothing off about it at all. It is quite characteristic. I just would like a little bit more of it.
7.75.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very diplomatic. Okay. And then what about texture?
Texture, I thought the texture was nice. It was smooth, creamy, buttery, nothing gritty in the mouthfeel. But again, I would go 8.5 because I did like the texture.
Yeah, I completely agree. It broke down really nicely in the mouth. It was really smooth. Yeah, really buttery, creamy.
Yeah. Okay. Agreed on 8.5 then. And then the final category, flavour.
Flavour. Well, again, it is a very nice, complex flavour, just a little bit lacking for me. I'd just like a little bit more about it.
Yeah, I completely agree on that. I just think for it being an extra mature, I want a little bit more extra mature on that one. A little bit more punch.
What would you land this one at then?
Probably an 8, I think.
Yeah.
An 8? Okay.
Nothing wrong with it, just lacking a little bit of oomph.
Got you. Okay. Next cheese in the traditional extra mature cheddar category is number 1090, please.
Don't rush me, Nicola.
It's a race to get there.
It's all right. I can't get my scissors to work, so we're fine. I learned that after the other year. Did it the other year. Didn't have any scissors or anything. Was struggling to open everything. I'm sort of hit with the smell as soon as this is open, to be honest, which is quite a good sign.
That's a good start, isn't it?
Can't open it. Open.
Terry, do you want to start? What are you thinking in terms of appearance?
In terms of appearance, again, not a great deal of open texture. It's a little bit of a sheen from the packaging, but nothing wrong with that. It's nice and uniform, no mottling, no discoloration. Nice rind on it. Again, it's probably a little bit light on the rind, but it has got a rind. For an extra mature, I'd expect a little bit more on the crust with a bit of discoloration there. But like I say, nothing wrong with it. No boxing at all.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm not seeing too much like maturation around the edges are going on there. So I would expect a little bit more darkening. And again, the rind for the type is slightly on the lighter side. Like I say, you'd expect a bit more character to come through. I've got no openness going on in there at all. So it looks like it could be quite creamy, which is interesting.
Okay.
What about the aroma? What are you smelling?
I'm getting quite a sweet straw, not as many as the earthy notes as I would like. And again, it's quite a bit more subtle. There is the earthiness there on the rinds, but overall, again, it is slightly more subtle for me.
Yeah, just a little bit lacking on the aroma, but again, nothing nasty about it, nothing that shouldn't be there. It's probably lovely and clean, just a bit lacking on the aroma.
Not as much punch. What about texture? How's it cut in?
It's really nice, quite smooth.
Mm-hmm.
On the cup there, it's held together.
Again, I'm warming it up in the fingers, and again, there's not an awful lot of aroma coming from that.
It melts down really nicely in the mouth, though, and it packs a lot more punch than you think it's going to.
Okay.
Quite a tangy bit of zing going on in there.
Yeah, there is quite a little bit of sharpness about it, a tingling. Probably lacking any sort of farmhouse grassy notes. So maybe not as complex as I would have liked, but again, there's nothing in there that shouldn't be there, like any nasty notes or anything like that. It's nice and clean. Again, just a bit lacking for me.
Yeah, the same. I'm not getting the length on the finish of that again because of the lack of complexity that would traditionally be expected for the extra mature. It's a really nice cheese. Again, I just expect a little bit more oomph. Like I say, it sort of packs a punch and then sort of dies quite quickly, unfortunately.
Okay. So in terms of scores then, what are we thinking for appearance?
Appearance, go for an 8. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not getting any openness or anything like that. Slightly paler on the rinds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd say the same, probably lacking a little bit of character for an extra mature traditional cheddar. It looks quite light on the rind. But again, the appearance, it's nice and uniform. Nothing wrong with it. I agree. An 8.
Okay. And then next category, aroma.
Again, lacking for me, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It was quite subtle.
Yeah, again, it's nice and clean, nothing nasty about it, but it just lacks that beautiful. I mean, we looked at the matures before, and I thought there was probably more about that than this. You expect that step up.
I was just going to say, should this have been in the first category, just a traditional mature cheddar?
Yeah. So, like Nicola said, it's probably just a bit lacking,
Mm-hmm.
lacking maturity and
Yeah.
punch, and but
Okay.
a well-made cheese, I would say.
So scores for aroma then, what are we settling on?
I would go for an 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with it, just lacking that bit of hit.
Very fair. And then texture, then you'd said it was a smooth cut and held together.
Yeah, texture was very nice. It was smooth, creamy, buttery, nice mouthfeel, no grittiness, nothing. So probably 8.5. What do you think?
Yeah, it melted down really, really nicely. It was really smooth. It coated the mouth beautifully. So yeah, I completely agree with that.
Do you think that actually texture for this cheese was its strongest point?
I'd say that, yeah.
Yeah.
For type, I would, yeah.
Okay. And then final category for scoring then flavour.
Well, again, it's probably not as complex as I would have liked, but again, nothing wrong with it. It's got the sharpness. It's probably lacking any farmy For a traditionally made cheese, no farmy notes, nothing like that. It's not complex and not powerful enough to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Again, like I say, I sort of had a bit of a punch to begin with, and then that was about it. I'd like a bit more complexity. I'd like more length on the finish. I'd like more savoury notes. I'd like more sort of umami and a bit more character coming through.
Okay. So what was the score be on that one, do you think?
I'd give it an 8 because it's a nice flavour, lacking complexity and strength. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, then next up we've got number 1131, please. Halfway in this category already.
I'm already getting the musty smell as soon as I open it.
Okay. That looks a nice colour from here.
Yeah.
Much stronger than the last two.
Yeah, it's not quite as pale as the others. I am getting a slight bit of wetness there, but I think with that being in cling foam, I'm getting the really musty, farmy, savoury notes on the nose there. That smells like I could eat the whole block. Again, on the rind there as well.
Oh, that looks like a good cheese.
Yeah, we've got a really nice rind going on. You can see where, I mean, the cloth stuck to it a little bit on that bit for where the colouring is. But yeah, it's a solid looking cheese. A few fractures, slight open, like you can just see where the curves have been pressed, but to be perfectly expected in this type of cheese, and that for the age actually gives it character. So you know what to sort of expect.
Yeah, it's got. I think it looks very nice. It's sort of marbled finish, which isn't mottling. Marbled is an attribute where you can see where the curd has formed and been pressed. So nice bit of character, bit more character about this one on the rind, bit heavier crust, nice aroma.
I could make a perfume out of that.
Oh.
Like it's a really enticing aroma. It makes you want to eat it. Cuts quite smooth. Considering, like I say, you can see where the curd's pressed, so I was expecting a bit more openness actually. So that was quite a surprise. Is
that a good thing?
Nice texture. Still creamy, not too brittle.
Yeah, it holds its own. It doesn't completely break down and melt as much as the others do, but I would expect a little bit more firmness and a bit more flinchiness in this type of cheese, which you don't initially get on the cut, but you do get in the mouth.
Yeah, so texture's good. It's probably a bit more body about this. It's got a firmer body, which makes it a slightly more brittle. But that's not a fault. I mean, to me, it's got more character, I think.
What about flavour?
Flavour more complex. I'm getting the farmy, grassy, the nice farmy tang. So a lot more going on this one.
There's a lot more complexity. I completely agree. You are getting the sort of farm, you're getting the maturation room, bit of wood going on in there, but again, you've got really savoury, sort of meaty notes that underlie it and sort of lift it that bit higher. This is what the other sort of needed, to be honest. It is a lot more true to type. You are getting, like I say, the flavours going on, the waves, the complexity.
Good waves, good levels.
Very Moorish. Very Moorish.
I feel like we might have a cheese that is going to take the lead at this point.
Yeah, definitely.
So in terms of appearance then, what are we saying?
Well, I like it. I think it looks good. It's got loads of character. It's got a nice rind to it. I can see the marbling, which is good on a traditional cheddar. So I would go for a 9.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking a 9 before you even said it. It's a lot more characterful and a lot more true to type.
Very good. Solid 9. Okay, what about the aroma?
The
For
aroma,
me,
just like Nicola said before, you open the packet and you're immediately hit by this nice traditional, typical farmhouse cheddar aroma, which is good.
yeah, it gives just as much on the nose as it does on the palate, which is really, really well done. I'd 9 it.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about texture?
Texture again, I thought it wasn't as smooth and creamy as the others, but I think it's a firmer bodied cheese, but it's still a very nice texture. And again, I would go for a 9 for texture as well.
Yeah, I agree. It holds its own a little bit more and doesn't break down as much, which I think adds to the flavour and the complexity and the cheese overall. So yeah, 9.
Okay. And final score for flavor, please.
I thought it was a very nice flavour, more powerful than the previous ones, but I'd go as high as a 9.5 because I really liked it. So
I can't stop eating it. I've literally just been here picking at it the whole time. So I'm a 9.5 on that one.
Okay.
Real good depth, real good complexity, a lot of different flavours coming through there. Really well-rounded cheese.
yeah, and I could still taste it. I mean, I haven't had a bit for a few minutes, but can
You're
still
straight.
lingers nicely.
Yeah, I just keep going back to it.
Fair play. Okay. Can we pull you away and get you over to 1185, please? That looked like a good cheese.
They should have like smell-o-vision.
I mean, just give the moderator some cheese, right?
You could taste it alongside. I'm sure that'd be fine.
I think yeah, it would help my note taking, surely. I did
The next
say this last year, they've not listened.
1217. Yeah.
1185.
No, 1185. 1185 is the next one. There's cheese number 4 in the traditional extra mature cheddar category.
Doesn't want to come out the bag. There we go. Ah. So again, quite light on the rind there. Little bit of moisture, but I'm guessing that'd be from the bag. Paler paste going on there. Slight maturation around the edge. Really uniform paste, not much open, like no open on there at all, actually. There's no cracks or anything. So a sign of good pressing. Really earthy, mushroom, farmy notes there on the nose. And you don't have to work at them, they are there. Really musty, woody rinds. So plenty on the nose there, which is really enticing.
What about you, Terry? What do you think to the appearance?
Appearance wise, again, probably a little bit lacking on the rind. It's getting there. Again, it's nice and uniform. There's no discoloration, no marbling or mottling on this one. But again, nothing wrong with it appearance wise, apart from looking a little bit under mature for an extra mature.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just think it lacks that little bit of character, unfortunately. But we'll see what it tastes like.
Yeah.
It cuts really smooth. In fact, I've got a few bits breaking off there, so it's not quite as smooth as it looks.
Yeah, I think it breaks down nicely in the fingers. It is creamy and buttery. It's not really not brittle. Not quite as smooth on the mouthfeel.
No, it looks smoother than it is. I'm getting ever so slightly gritty to begin with.
Yeah, it's almost a little bit powdery feel in the palate.
Yeah, it does melt down from there, but yeah.
Mm.
Quite sweet.
Okay.
And on the flavour, it has got some farmy notes, a little bit of tang about it, but I would like it to have a little bit more. It is complex in terms of some sharp notes, some grassy notes, but probably not enough of them.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'd like a bit more depth of flavour on there. Like I say, it's getting there. I just don't quite feel like it's fully there yet.
Okay. So it hasn't got the depth that you'd hope for.
No, and again, on the length of finish, it's I think for an extra it needs just that little bit more.
Okay. So in terms of scores then, what are you thinking for the appearance?
I would go for an 8 because it's uniform. There's nothing wrong with it. No mottling, but it just looks a little bit lacking character on the rind. Could do with a little bit more age, maybe. I would go for an 8 really, because like I say, nothing wrong with it. Just
Yeah, I completely agree. I just think it's a little bit too uniform for the type. Like I say, you could do with just that little bit more character.
Okay. And in terms of aroma?
aroma, it was. I was picking up the farmy notes, the grassy notes, particularly on the rind, but again, I'm not picking up an awful lot on the cheese. They are there, but they're probably a little bit too subtle, probably a bit lacking the powerful, pungent odor that I would like for a farmhouse mature, traditional mature, extra
Yeah,
mature.
I completely agree. I think just a little bit more punch on those on the paste specifically. I say the rind is exactly what you'd expect. It's just the paste that's lacking slightly.
Okay. So scores?
I'd go for an 8 again, really. I don't know what you think, Nicola.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. And then in terms of its texture?
Texture, I would go for 7.5 because the mouthfeel was a little bit powdery for me. I don't know why. It cut and it was creamy and buttery on the hand, but it was just a little bit powdery. So I would say 7.5. What do you think, Nicola?
Yeah, I agree. I found it, like I say, slightly gritty in the breaking down to that bit longer for me. So yeah, I completely agree on 7.5.
Okay. And then final score for flavour, please.
Some nice flavors. Probably could do with a bit more complexity and definitely a bit more powerful, pungent aroma and flavor, really. So, but again, no nastiness about it. Nothing, no off flavors or taints or anything like that. A very well made cheese. It just seems as if it could do with a little bit more maturation to become an extra mature. So I would say an 8.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think for the type, I just want a little bit more, a little bit more punch, a little bit more depth, and a little bit more on the finish.
Okay. And then the final cheese in this category, cheese number 5, is 1217, please.
217. You can see it.
So this rind again seems quite a bit paler. But you can see the marks where the cloth has been against it there. Some slight openness, very uniform, straw sort of golden colour, which is lovely.
Yeah, I agree. It is very uniform. no mottling or at all, no calcium lactate crystals on the surface. Slight mechanical openness, but not too much.
Got a bit of a sheen, but again, that could just be coming from the packaging.
Yeah, a bit light on the rind.
Again, I'm getting a sort of farmy straw scent from that. And the mustiness is there on the rind. For me, the aroma gives a little bit more than the last one. Breaks up a little bit more on cutting there as well.
Yeah, texture, it is nice and smooth, creamy, buttery. Even in the mouthfeel, the texture's very nice. So
that sort of front of mouth fizz going on, but then it sort of coats the rest of my mouth as well.
So flavour wise, I think there's a bit more about this than I was expecting. So there's certainly more complexity, a bit more strength. So it is well up there into the mature, extra mature category. So it might look a little bit immature, but in terms of strength of flavour, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's got a lot more impact, a lot more complexity. For me, it's missing that slight savouriness though.
Oh, okay.
It's too much. It's
sweet.
For me, there's a lot of sweet. It's that front of mouth, quite sharp. I'd like to see, like, say, a few more umami, a few more savoury notes on there. But the actual impact is good for the extra mature. That's what we've been lacking on a few of the others.
Yeah, and it's not lingering as much as one of the previous ones. So it is complex, but missing a few of the notes that the previous one had.
Yeah, I think, like I say, savouriness would just lift it so you'd get that length on the finish. I'm left with quite a nice grassy sort of taste, which is lovely. I said I'd just like a little bit more savoury in there.
And what about scores then for this final cheese?
Appearance, I would go for an 8 because the cheese, whilst it's nothing wrong with it, it probably lacks a little bit of character on the rind, but I'd go for an 8. I don't know what you think, Nicola.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it has got a little bit more character on the paste with, like, say, if you the ever so slight openness. The rind just, like, say, yeah, could do with a little bit more character going on.
And then what about for aroma?
I thought the aroma was great, actually. I'd go for an 8.5 on that. I think it's giving. I think it's really good to have it throughout the paste as well, which again, quite a few of the others haven't had.
Yeah, a bit more about it when you open the pack. There was some nice aromas coming out of it, a bit more pungent. And yes, I agree, 8.5.
Okay. And then what about texture?
Texture smooth, creamy, buttery for an extra mature. Very nice. It's not crumbly. There was no powdery feeling. Nice mouth feel. I would go for 8.5. Don't know what you think.
I agree.
And that front of mouth fizz as well you described.
Yeah.
Okay. And then final score for this category, flavour.
Flavour, again, there was more about it than I was expecting because it doesn't look as characterful as some of the others, but so there was a bit more punch about it, more power. So it was up there into the extra mature. Maybe not as complex as we would have liked, a few of the sort of grassy notes missing, but to be honest, I would still go for a 9 really, because it was actually an extra mature flavour.
Yeah, I would go for more of an 8.5 myself. I just feel like, say, having a few more savoury notes would lift it slightly. and give
Okay.
more of a sort of rounded and complex finish on that one.
Okay. 8.75.
Middle ground it.
I'm glad I've got an Excel spreadsheet that's adding this up. Okay, it's a close category again. There's two front runners. The cheese number 3 that we tested, that was 1131. That's come out at 41.25. And then this cheese, the final one, has got a score of 38.125.
Yeah.
Are you happy with that? From
Yeah.
how you were describing it, it sounds like those were the two leaders.
Yeah.
And then the third place is cheese number 1090. The second one you tried with a score of 36.5.
Yeah.
You're standing by those scores
Yeah.
and those positions. It seemed like that was how it was gonna go.
Yeah, some very good cheeses and a very, very worthy winner. You know, it was a very good all-round cheese that's hit them at the post, if you like.
Brilliant.
Yeah, got that little bit more character about it for the type. So yeah.
Okay, so just to confirm then, the third cheese you tried was number A21131, and that is the winner of the traditional extra mature cheddar category, followed by 1217, and in third place is cheese number 1090.
Yeah.
And that concludes traditional extra mature cheddar. Thank you very much, judges, for your feedback and your comments. Thank you to Butlers for the aprons, and thank you to Millers for their delicious crackers. Category finals going to be held on the 10th of June, where we will find the very best British cheeses, and on the 11th of June, you'll be awarding the Supreme Champion category 2025. This is the Visor Virtual Cheese Awards, and this was the traditional extra mature cheddar category. Thank you, Terry and Nicola.
Thank you.
Thank you.